You're listening to the Thunder Underground podcast. This is episode 38. My name is Trent, and as always, I'm joined by Jason. How are you?
Pretty good. What's going on?
You know, same old, just here to talk about music.
Hey, that's never a bad thing. I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, well, jumping out right off the bat here, the last, I think now 3 episodes,
Yeah.
we've talked about someone that, whether they be a living legend, well, at least some of them are, and a couple of them that, we're just fans of. We've lost, musicians, and it's just like a continuing trend over the last few weeks. We had Scott Weiland we talked about, and then, of course, Lemmy, and, of course, David Bowie, Jason McEnroth, who, for those of you who don't know him, is in the Rollins Band and Mother Superior. And then now we've got Glenn Frey.
That's right. Glenn Frey of the Eagles passed away yesterday, 67 years old. And it's just crazy. We're losing a lot of them. I mean, and I'm sure that you could make the case that this podcast really isn't maybe, would reach out to a lot of Eagles fans.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't deny a legend and an influence on all kinds of people. So it's definitely worth talking about. And it just brings up a greater point of, we're getting on in years, and the wheels rolling, and these guys are getting older, and it's just going to keep happening more, and we're gonna start losing a lot of these guys, as we have already.
Yeah, and the thing was, in the past 2 days, not just him, but then we lost Dale Griffin, who is coincidentally the drummer for David Bowie recently.
Yeah.
And he was also one of the founders of Mott the Hoople.
Yes, and then the drummer for Crosby, Stills, Nash died.
Yeah.
So just all these, legends or sidemen, whatever, they're all just checking out, and it's something we need to recognize and pay tribute and start trying to pass the torch. Who's gonna be the next ones? Who's gonna be the next legends?
Yeah, because once you get past, there's guys from our era, like the Metallicas and
that's right,
Guns N' Roses, so forth. That will are considered legends, and are still a ways off, hopefully. But there's like after that, it kind of falls off.
It really does. It really does. There's a huge. I mean, where is it going to go after that? Disturbed? I mean, I don't know. Are they? And I'm just throwing that out as an example.
Right.
I'm not trying to talk bad about them at all. I'm just saying, is that next? I mean, I think Foo Fighters is in that. They could be the next ones. I don't know. It's hard to say. It really is.
Yeah, and like what you were kind of getting on about with all these, we're going to keep losing these guys, I wanted to bring up this note that Mike Portnoy wrote. And he actually wrote it, I think, the day before Glenn Frey died, and then he reposted it the day that he died, and said, I can't believe it's been less than 24 hours and I'm already reposting this.
Yeah, who'd have thought?
Right. And he basically wrote a letter, and he said, and it starts off, and he says, I'm not trying to be morbid, but, what we're seeing is something that's going to become all too common, because we're getting into the point where all these, musical legends and heroes from the 60s especially, they came out in the 60s, and then moving into the early 70s, these guys are all getting into their 60s and 70s. And so it's going to become more common that you see guys from major bands just starting to die at a more rapid pace than ever before.
Yeah.
And he basically wrote a letter saying, enlisting everybody that's still alive that had a major influence on him. And he said, I just want to say thank you while I still can.
Yeah.
And so go look that up, Mike Portnoy's Facebook or Twitter. Check it out. It's a good read. And I think at the end of it, he mentions, after he lists everybody, he says, P.S. Keith Richards, keep the world safe for my grandkids.
That's right.
But, I mean, we're mentioning Glenn Frey, and I'm one of those people that, the Eagles were always kind of not a polarizing band, but there was always a divisive line where you just didn't care or you loved them to death. And I always used to, just tell everybody I hated the Eagles. Mm-hmm. And I really never did hate them. I just when I was younger, I just never really got into it much, and always loved Joe Walsh solo and some Don Henley solo songs, but it wasn't until, my girlfriend, who's a major Eagles fan, I'm with her, so I hear this stuff all the time, so you start to respect this stuff more as you get older.
Definitely.
And you, of course, as we've talked about on this podcast many times, you get older, you start to listen to more stuff and go back and listen to stuff that you skipped over when you were younger because you were narrow-minded or whatever.
Exactly. You weren't having it back then.
Right. So when the dude said, "I hate the fucking Eagles, man," I finally had a hero saying this, but I never truly believed it. So,
well, I tell you what, I think their documentary.
Oh yeah.
On Netflix, the proper title of it escapes me right now.
The History of the Eagles.
Okay, The History of the Eagles. I don't care if you like the Eagles or don't like the Eagles. I don't care if you're 15 and want to start a death metal band, or you're in a country band or a ska band. It doesn't matter. Anybody that is in a band, loves music, breathes this stuff, eats this stuff, sleeps this stuff, needs to see this movie. This is one of the coolest rock documentaries and kind of biography movies you're ever going to see. I recommend it to anybody. And I'm not even a big Eagles fan. Kind of like you. I don't hate them. And I understand and respect and, what they do. I just was never a huge fan. But you've got to see this movie. It's so good. And it's just a really good look into how this kind of stuff works. And Don Felder's a dickhead. So, there you go.
Yeah, that was really good. They go into extreme detail, from the beginnings clear up to now, and they go through all the dysfunction and everything. None of them hold back.
None of them hold back.
So, like you said, it's just a great music documentary for anyone that's a fan of music, which is most people that are breathing,
And just one more side note. I'm sorry I have to say it. In this movie, Joe Walsh, who was like the craziest and most loose cannon of all loose cannons, even he's smart enough to go, is it what's good for the Eagles, not just you? What's good for the group? So that attitude goes a long way.
Yeah. And on another random note, even though the Eagles are known, as being this kind of country rock crossover band, and Glenn Frey had a major part in that because that's his style more than the other ones, I think, especially Joe Walsh. But The Heat Is On from the 80s.
Oh, man.
Is like...
You belong to the city?
But no, I mean, when you think of that, that's like the perfect, kind of like we talked about before with Revolution Saints. It's like encapsulates the whole sound of an era. And it makes you think of... I don't know, was that on a movie? But it makes you think of...
I think it was on Beverly Hills Cop, wasn't it?
And there you go. It makes me think of the 80s and the movies. Like, that's just like the perfect encapsulation of that era.
It definitely is. I agree.
Yeah, well, enough of this sadness. And, hopefully next week we're not talking about someone else. And let's just get into this episode 38 right now. We want to get into this episode like we usually do and just kick right into some music for you. And we've got a band called Omega Diatribe that is out of Budapest, Hungary.
That's right, we're going international.
Yeah, this is the first, I think, we've posted some stuff on our social media and talked about bands, but I think this is the first international band that we're playing, right?
Yes, and we're really glad they sent us some stuff, and we're happy to play them.
Let's get right into this. It's called Hydrozoan Periods.
Everything's tough from the beginning. Memories leaving me. Our future is just now. Wearing the trials, independent in society. Phenomenon of impossibility. A bit of existence. We're on train. We're riding disappearing. Intelligence. This is bleeding from the existence of the innocent. Bodies surrounding me. You can live for my secret. I was secret and no one does make my friend. But that's not for you all. Rejuvenation is vaccination. You are close to no fiction and your mind's still searching for identity. Situations on so excellent. Conditions for you. Celebrated pursuit. Not for the simulator. But I'm still searching for identity. So it's time back before the end. We're on day disappearing. Intelligence, your this is bleeding from the existence of the innocent. Bodies surrounding humans.
There you go, Hydrazone Periods from the Omega Diatribe. Once again, out of Budapest, Hungary. This band features Kevin Talley on drums, who, this dude's a monster on the drums. He's been with all kinds of bands, Suffocation, 6 Feet Under. He was in, a touring member of Battlecross for a while. Just all kinds of great heavy hitters.
Yeah, didn't he do some stuff with Soilwork for a while?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, Well, I want to say I was, looking at some stuff about this band, and I read a review that someone wrote, and I think it was about the entire EP, and they mentioned that a lot of this reminds them of Meshuggah, but with a drummer that sounds like they're a real person, which I thought was a cool way to put it, because when you listen to a lot of bands like that, you can tell, they're using a, drum machine or whatever.
Yeah.
And this obviously comes across as drums,
Oh, yeah. I mean, I understand. I get where somebody can say, Meshuggah. That is very prominent. But at the same time, I hate to do the whole, this band is for fans of this and for fans of that.
Oh, I wouldn't say that anyway, because I'm not a fan of Meshuggah.
Yeah, well... yeah.
And I'm a fan of this.
Oh, okay, well then, so see, and that's exactly why I don't like that, and,
Right.
Dispels that myth. But, I just, this is a great song. It's just balls out, just pedal to the metal the whole way. I mean, this is the good stuff, really. I mean, if you're a metal fan, this is the stuff we just, we can just sink our teeth into. So, yeah, I mean, these guys, they know what they're doing, and they're going for it, and hope to hear a lot from them.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like a few, I've said this with a few bands over the last few months that we've played, that I like it whenever you can hear several different styles or genres kind of blended together.
Yeah.
And with this, you definitely hear that groove metal, that 90s kind of groove metal style that, bands like Pantera or White Zombie or something perfected. And then, but you also hear like a new wave of American heavy metal. kind of guitar sound at times too. And then there's just something about the vocals and the whole song itself that just seems darker than that stuff. So it doesn't sound like a death metal song or anything, but it has that kind of spirit, I guess, if that's a good way to say it.
That's a great way to put it.
So it's just kind of cool that all this stuff kind of comes together, and this whole thing's on an EP. They've got I think it's 6 songs on there, and they're all great. And like you said, hopefully we hear more from these guys in the future.
Yeah, they're on Bandcamp, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can listen to them on Bandcamp and on their Facebook page, and you can buy the music there as well. So go find them, like them, support them, buy their music, check them out so we can hear more from these guys. Maybe we'll get them in America. We could see them live at some point too.
That would be awesome.
All right, what do we...
Moving right along.
There was 2 or 3 episodes in a row.
Yes.
Where you brought up...
Too many episodes in a row, damn it.
You're like, have you listened to the new Anthrax song, Breathing Lightning? And my answer was like, no, I haven't.
Yeah, because you're lame.
Right? I listened to Evil Twin like 30 times.
Yeah.
But I just never got around to listen to Breathing Lightning.
Which is a great song.
Yes. But I finally listened to this, so... And I know you've already talked about it, but I wanted to talk about it again since I can contribute.
Oh, for sure. No doubt. Let's do it.
This, from the first time I heard it, blew my mind. I don't want to try to exaggerate this, but, I'm a major fan of Anthrax, obviously, that style of music, but I'm also a major fan of hard rock, melodic hard rock. Mm-hmm. And this song is straight up, the chorus of this thing is, I think, probably the happiest sounding Anthrax song ever.
Yeah.
Even though, the lyrics aren't necessarily that way, but Joey's vocals and that guitar, especially in the chorus is just this huge thing where it's
an insane melody.
Yeah.
It's a, it has a real positive anthem-y kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, it sticks in your head like crazy glue.
Kind of like Safe Home did.
Yeah, exactly.
From We've Come For You All, back when John Bush was still in the band. And it's the same way, just got this huge chorus that's stuck in your head. And the other thing is, for those of you that aren't, huge Anthrax geeks like us, you might not know that when Joey Belladonna first auditioned for the band, one of the songs he auditioned with was Keep On Running by Journey. And I think with this song and the style of that, melodic chorus, that influence is more evident than ever.
Oh, definitely.
Just the way, I'm not saying this sounds like Journey. I'm just saying that his voice, it still sounds exactly like Joey Belladonna, but when you add that sound behind him, you can say, oh yeah, I could see this guy was totally into that stuff.
yeah. I mean, his vocals just seem to keep getting better and better,
which is crazy.
Yeah, just crystal clear, and it really, and this song's great. We know that, and that's what we're talking about. And I, more than usual, when I heard this song, I just think back to when we were in Chicago on the train going to Riot Fest, and that kid was talking to his friend about bands that were going to be there, and he's like, I saw Anthrax was going to be there, but, I saw them a couple years ago, and they're just so old, and it was just sad. And I just cannot fathom that in my fucking head, how that could be remotely true. Physically, yes, they've been around more years than us, but their spirit and their drive and their talent and their energy and their physicality, they are not older. They're just, I just don't understand what this dumbass kid meant, because this band is anything but sad, and they just get better every time they put out a fucking CD. It's insane.
Yeah.
And you've got Evil Twin and Breathing Lightning. I just can't imagine what the rest of this CD is going to sound like. I can't wait.
Yeah, there's never been any point in their career where I didn't like an album.
Yeah.
And, I can't say that about most bands that have been around this long, because obviously there's Metallica I don't care for. There's Megadeth I don't care for.
Yeah.
Even Slayer, there's some stuff I just don't really listen to that's kind of somewhere in the middle there. But Anthrax, it's like every single album I freaking love it. You know?
Yeah, and another, like, a cool thing about kind of this new stuff they're putting out is, you know, the hard rock crowd, you know, that's into the Disturbs and the Five Finger Death Punches and the Rob Zombies, they can latch onto this stuff. And also the real, you know, metalheads, the Slayers and the Testaments and, you know, all that can latch onto this stuff. I mean, it's got that broad appeal without, you know, compromise anything or sounding dumb. I mean, they really captured this time around for sure.
Yeah, and John Denies' solo on this thing is pretty badass itself.
Yeah.
It's even kind of fits into that whole, you know, kind of like we said, that melodic hard rock vibe as well.
Yeah.
Without straying from Anthrax, you know.
Yeah, and it sounds like him. He's kind of got his squeals and stuff that he would do in the solos with Shadows Fall. You can tell it's him, and he was a good get for that band, by the way.
Yeah. And speaking of, I know Shadows Fall was planning some shows. I think they played some last year again. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we get lucky and, you know, once Anthrax concludes this album cycle, we get some more Shadows Fall again.
That would be awesome.
Right. But speaking of other new music, you know, months and months ago, well, I think it was before the press conference before the final Motley Crue tour.
Yeah.
Mick Mars made the statement that he would love to work with John Corabi again after Motley Crue was done.
That's right.
And of course, you know, we wet our pants with glee. But then in the back of my mind, I was probably like, this probably won't happen.
You wet your pants. I was just kind of stoked, but still cool. But you wet your pants. That's cool.
Right. And then maybe a month or two ago, Corabi, you know, made news whenever he basically said, this is happening.
Yeah.
So they finally got somewhat of a confirmation. And then this past weekend, they both posted photos from the studio in Nashville of them working together. So this is definitely a thing that's happening right now.
This is happening, Trent.
Yes. So this is, we're 22 years after the release of one of the greatest hard rock albums of all time, which is Motley Crue with John Corabi on vocals.
Damn right.
Damn
right.
We're finally getting, you know, this is basically the sound of that because you've got the guitarist and the singer, you know, which is the biggest sound of any band for the most part. So they didn't really give any indication other than, you know, Mick Mars said something like it's great to get back in here doing some loud, greasy rock and roll again. So you know it's probably going to have the same vibe of that, I would think.
I hope so.
But even if not, you know, everything Corabi does is great and everything Mick Mars has done has been great. So what is your take? You think it's going to be 94 sounding or what?
What I think. I always liked Mick Mars. To me, is a little underrated. He's always got a great bluesy, kind of nasty, mean thing going on the guitar, you know, in his solos. I just don't think people gave him enough credit because there's so much more bullshit going on in Motley Crue.
Right.
You know, dumbass fucking drummer and a G-string and, you know, Nikki Sixx being strung out all the time. And so it took away from how great Mick Mars was.
And a horrible singer live.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So I just really hope that they get back to, you know, some mean guitar. I think, you know, it would have to with those two being in on it. Some gritty vocals, just some riffs, just kick-ass riffs, which, you know, the last songs that Motley Crue put out, you know, be it Saints of Los Angeles or the single here or there that they did, I don't know, were good songs in the fact that, you know, they were catchy and they were well constructed, but, you know, it was just, you know, there just wasn't good guitar, you know, so I'm really looking forward to just some mean snarling guitar, and I'm pretty sure, I just hope that it's going to sound, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of that.
Yeah, you would imagine it would, but, you know, who knows? We'll find out hopefully sooner than later.
Exactly.
If they're already in the studio, I would imagine we'll know by summertime at the latest, probably.
Yeah. Yep.
And who knows if these guys are going to go on the road at all, but that would be amazing as well.
Yeah, that'd be worthy of a drive somewhere.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City or Dallas or something.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, we want to play another song now. And this is a band that we've actually played before, but we just want to play them again because we love them so much.
Yeah, and they're so badass.
Yes, they're called Oklahombres, and they're out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And the first time that we played them on an episode that we had Kyle Shutt from the Sword on, and we played a couple of their songs, but we want to play a third song for you now called El Chupacabra. Right, that was El Chupacabra from Oklahombres. Once again, like I said, out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Features Steve Ray, who most people in the area know from Pitbulls on Crack. And like we talked about last time, this is a lot different than Pitbulls on Crack.
Yeah.
This also features some guys that were in Doomsday Junkie with him as well, and it's more along the lines of that.
Yeah.
But even, I think, a little more, I don't know what the right word is, because I know Doomsday was groovy, but there's just something about this which just sets itself apart, I think.
Yeah, I like the his vocals are really just like, just going for it on this song. And I kind of like the guitar lines going on under the vocals. Gives it a good little vibe. And then the wah-wah pedal stuff, you know me, I'm a guitar guy, so
yeah,
I just gravitate towards that. But that's what grabbed me. So once again, another great song from these guys. They can't let us down.
Yeah, check out the other songs they've got posted, which are Polecat and Bushwhacker. All three of these, there's just grooves and riffs for days, and great melodic stuff. Like you said, awesome guitar, awesome rhythm section, and his vocals through this whole thing is just badass.
That's right. Play it loud.
Yeah, this is the type of thing that just deserves to be cranked the hell up.
Yes.
All right, we wanted to throw out a mention to something we hadn't talked about in quite a while, which is a thing that we do on Instagram, and I know we post on Facebook as well, but it's called Lost Classic, which is where we take an album that we really dug, that either was by a big band, their album that just kind of fell under the radar, or if it was, just a band that never really got really that big. And just a couple of days ago, you posted Slave to the System.
That's right.
And, this is a band that featured Damon Johnson from Brother Kane, as well as Scott Rockenfeld from Queensryche, and Kelly Gray that used to be in Queensryche,
mm-hmm.
and then Roman Glick.
Roman Glick,
who was in Brother Kane way back.
And now he's in Jackal.
Yes. And so just kind of talk about this, like what you...
Well, I don't know why I hadn't thought about this album before. This album's 15, 16 years old. It's called Slave to the System. That's the name of the band and the album, I guess.
I thought it came out just like mid-2000s.
I think... Well, I don't know. I looked up when they formed, and it said 2000, so the record might have been 2002 or so.
Oh, okay.
2003. So I might not totally be correct, but in that era.
Right.
And, two guys from Brother Kane, two guys from Queensryche, we jumped all over it.
Right.
And I really liked, it's just real good, stripped down. I think it's it's kind of what I had wished that, like, the radio rock, that's a direction I wished it would have went in at the time. And I think that if this album had caught on and people had, if it blown up, maybe could have influenced all that to go in a little bit more an honest direction. There's just crazy songs as far as songwriting and structure and, catchiness. The guitar tone on this album is insane. It's like this, like, gnarly, dry, overdrive. It's not like insanely distorted, but it's like really like honest and just dry. And I don't know. I have a hard time describing it, but it's just crazy awesome. And I don't know if that's Kelly Gray or Damon Johnson. I'm not really sure where that comes into play. But it's just like, it's so smart. And, I think standout tracks would be Stigmata. There's a song on there called Disinfected, which is just insane. I mean, it just rips a hole through anything. So, check out our Instagram, hashtag Lost Classic. You'll find it. It's just one more notch in Damon Johnson's belt of how talented and multifaceted this guy is. And it's just, it kind of fell by the wayside. So we wanted to give it a mention for sure.
And I think if it had came out 5-10 years later,
yeah,
based off of the fact that there's, and you think in the past 5-6 years, there's been tons of super groups.
Oh, I know.
And several of them have been unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think if it had come out in this more recent time period, and you have the names Queensryche, Brother Kane, and even now, Thin Lizzy. Since,
yeah.
Damon Johnson's got that credit now.
Exactly.
It's
and
like
Alice Cooper and whatnot.
Right. It would. I think it would have done better if it had come out a little later.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely go check that out. And like Trent says, if this band had been just a few years later, and maybe, or a few years sooner.
True.
Yeah, I don't know. I think things could have been different. But in any case, it's on Spotify. I'm sure you can get physical copies somewhere. But it's definitely worth digging around and looking for.
Yeah, and speaking of Damon Johnson, this guy, has been a favorite of both of ours, since we first heard him.
Oh, for years.
And he's another one of those guys that is criminally underrated.
Yeah.
And even though he's had a lot of success and continued, especially in the last 10 years with Alice Cooper, Thin Lizzy, Black Star Riders, but he's still just a guy that is under the radar to most people.
Yeah, it's insane. I'll go to the fucking store, and there's Fall Out Boy on the cover of Guitar World or whatever, and Damon Johnson's never been on the cover of Guitar World. The guy knows guitar inside and out. It's just way underrated. And we're all about underrated stuff, underdog stuff. So this is right up our alley. We love this guy, and more people need to know about him.
Yeah, the first, most people that are around back then remember at least one or two Brother Kane songs. And,
of course.
But when that album came out, was it 93?
Mm-hmm.
That thing just, to me, we've talked before about how that, early 90s, was just a cool period of rock music, because you had all the 80s rock, still around.
Yeah.
Some of those guys putting out some awesome albums, and then you had all the, Alice in Chains and Soundgardens, and then on the other side, the Black Crowes, and just all this stuff coming together at once in, like 91 to 94.
Yeah.
And this band came out right in the midst of that and kind of fit with all that, because it was just kind of like this sound that crossed like the dirty, early Guns N' Roses with like the blues of Black Crowes, and just combined it into just like this awesome sound,
That's a good way of putting it. I was just kind of thinking about how I'd describe it, and you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think they're more a band from the South instead of Southern rock.
Yeah.
Because they rock and they have all that, and they're from the South, and you can hear that, but they don't really have a Southern rock thing. Maybe it's just in there a little bit, but they don't sound as cheesy sometimes, as some of those bands did. And their debut album is just a masterpiece. I mean, it was our first concert at the Canes, was Brother Kane. Or mine,
right? Mine was Stryper.
Yeah, well, that's a different episode. But from that moment on, that just this band and Damon Johnson really struck a chord with me. He was a front man, and he also was the lead guitar player, and he was just the whole package. And they had Brother Kane had two other albums, but they just weren't. Which were good. It's just they didn't quite connect with me as much as the first one did. So
yeah, I remember.
But they're still all amazing.
Yeah, and there's great tracks on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the same way. That first one is just up there as one of my top albums probably ever.
It's like a desert island album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, even that second album, with like 2020 Faith, Voice of Eugenia, Breadmaker, Fool Shine On, Wish Pool, had great stuff on it too, but
Machete.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but that
yeah, exactly.
No, I was just going to say that first one, man, it's just like every single track. I mean, it has The Road is one of my favorite ballads of all time. Woman is just this great epic, song that just builds, and
Pressure.
right.
Fuck, man. Hard act to follow.
Yeah.
Jeez, I mean, it's
and then
just...
the radio songs, That Don't Satisfy Me and Got No Shame,
Yeah.
Are both, classic. And it's just, I saw Damon Johnson live about 2 or 3 years ago now at a small club where it was just him solo.
Yeah.
And it was just him with an acoustic guitar. And it's one of my favorite shows I've seen in recent memory. And he played a few Brother Kane songs. He played a couple Alice Cooper songs, a few Thin Lizzy songs, and he didn't play any Slave to the System songs, sorry. But,
it's all right.
Yeah.
You win some, you lose some.
right. A couple other covers like, I think a Waylon Jennings song and a Leonard Skinner song. But it was just, it just showed how awesome of a songwriter this guy is, because you could strip any of, their songs down to an acoustic guitar and it's still amazing.
Yeah, and that's how you know you've got a really good song.
Yeah, and he played his solo stuff too, which is all his solo stuff is, most of it's that way, where it's just him and an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Maybe a piano.
I had a question for you. That song on his solo album with Alice Cooper.
Right.
God, what was that song even called? I heard it today. I'm drawing a blank. Generation Landslide.
Oh, yeah.
Well, is that an acoustic version of something?
I think
or is that an original song?
Well, I think it was on an Alice Cooper album, too.
Okay,
maybe.
because they do it acoustic, and I'm like, this sounds like this should be heavy.
Right.
Well,
did you recognize Just Feel Better? Because that was the Santana with Steven Tyler song.
Oh, Lord.
And it was a big hit.
Yeah. I forgot he's worked with Steven Tyler, yeah.
But he wrote that song.
That's right.
And that's why it's on that album.
See, and that's the thing is, he's wrote for other people. He was almost in Damn Yankees, or he was for like 5 minutes.
Right.
Because I think if you Google it, there's pictures of him with Damn Yankees. So,
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like ringing a bell somehow. I don't know. Google it, find out. I don't know, But I mean, and the guy tried to do a country thing for a while. He was in a band called Whiskey Falls that I don't know if they really went anywhere, but I mean, he's tried everything. He's done it all. He's a musician's a musician for sure.
Well, and like we mentioned Alice Cooper, I mean, Alice Cooper puts together a band that he doesn't fuck around. It's not like I'm just going to...
It's the best of the best.
Right, and it's always been that way, And,
yeah.
And he's always had awesome guitarists. And Damon Johnson, even going back to when we were younger, I never thought, Damon Johnson is an awesome guitarist.
Yeah.
Even though he was. I just thought, this is that dude that sings for Brother Kane.
Exactly.
Until you see him and realize, listen to it, like you said, it's a lead guitarist, and, he just is amazing across the board.
Yeah, and then now he's in, he did the Thin Lizzy thing, which turned to Black Star Riders. And I mean, that stuff is just going for the throat.
Yeah.
For sure. That's perfect rock and roll. And it's way more popular in Europe right now than in over here. But, what can you do?
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Black Star Riders, it's basically the recent version of Thin Lizzy. And they decided to change the name to record new music, which is pretty cool. Cause,
that's a good idea.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even saying there's been bands that didn't do that.
Yeah.
And they could have easily recorded an album under the name Thin Lizzy and might have sold a few more copies just based off the name.
Yeah. But they had I think they had a lot of respect for the name. So.
Right. And with Phil gone, it's like, everyone knows, yeah. It's not really Thin Lizzy, but it's, you've still got Scott Gorham. It's, but it's cool that they decided to change the name and record new music.
Yeah.
And you go see Black Star Riders live, of course, they're playing the Thin Lizzy songs and the songs from their 2 albums. And they're, like you said, it's just great hard rock and roll,
Oh, yeah. It's like a hammer in the face, just riffs, and it's still got the twin kind of guitar thing going on like Thin Lizzy. So it's just great stuff.
Well, do we have anything else we want to mention about Damon before we move on?
I think we're good. I think, it's funny how this came about. It came about by me wanting to do the Lost Classic. So we thought, let's just make that, one of the main points of this episode. So it's cool to get to talk about him and, shed some light on how great of a musician this guy is.
Yeah, I implore you, if you're a fan of Brother Kane or any of this stuff, check out his solo stuff just because it's so, everybody likes some laid-back stuff now and then, and it's just cool to hear these guys, you think of it, we've been kind of lucky that several dudes that we are big fans of that are from the hard rock world have also done stuff like this with, like, John Corabi and Joe Altier and Zakk Wylde, Damon Johnson's just another one of those guys that can span the whole gamut of it and just sound great at either end of it.
Yeah, it's good stuff to put on Sunday morning when you're, nursing a hangover, trying to chill out. So
yeah, Pontiac is just an amazing feel-good song.
That was a good song. I agree.
All right, well, you mentioned to me, I have not read this story, but you said that Dave Mustaine made some kind of comment that Dave Ellefson isn't a founding member of Megadeth.
Yeah, well, see, a lot of times I'll just see a headline and I'll just go on because I'm at work or I'm busy or whatever. But I saw this headline a couple different places. I'm like, okay, I got to click on this. Dave Mustaine was talking about how Dave Ellefson wasn't a founding member of Megadeth. And I don't know, Dave Mustaine has said a lot of crap over the years. And you don't know if it's him or if it's the media fucking with him.
Right.
And a lot of times someone will they'll take a part from a quote and, so I don't know. But the gist of it was, he said that somebody asked him, when you and Ellefson started the band, did something, and he goes, well, now, really, Ellefson, me and Ellefson didn't start it. I started it. It was a different name, but, and all this stuff. So it's like, well, if it was a different name, then it wasn't Megadeth. So Megadeth started with, and it's just, and I don't know, you don't know what to believe.
But didn't he in his book?
So, I don't know.
Didn't he in his book talk about how, he was playing in his apartment guitar and then Dave knocks on the door?
Yeah.
And then that's how they met and then they start jamming together?
Yeah, exactly.
So that kind of makes you a founding member, I would think, if like you're in there, there's only one guy.
Yeah, true.
And he's not calling it Megadeth.
But, if Dave Mustaine might have had the notion to start a band the minute he got on the bus after Metallica kicked him off.
Right.
And that was going to be his band. So maybe that's when it was founded.
That's true.
You never know.
Right.
And so it's just weird. But, in my eyes, there are two original members that have always been there.
Yeah. So
to me, it's pretty cut and dry, but I'm just a fan. I'm not in the band, so who knows?
Right.
I'm, maybe he'll, he's on the Josta show Thursday. Maybe he'll say something about it. Who knows? Right. I don't know.
Well, but, even if you're not technically a founding member, he's part of the first incarnation of the band.
Yeah, yes.
And then, of course, that band went on and recorded the first album. So it's like,
yeah,
for all intents and purposes, that's what you look at as.
Oh, exactly.
As the original band,
Yeah, and I think he's good for, in the wild, crazy world of Dave Mustaine. I think he's a good balance.
Oh yeah.
For the band and for the whole process they've got going on there.
Right.
And it bummed me out when he wasn't in the band. So I'm glad that he's there. And to me, he's founding. He's original, anyways.
Yeah.
So.
And that's another album that we're looking forward to that's supposed to be out in... Actually, it's just like next week.
Yeah, Friday, I think. It's going to be
this
nuts.
Friday? Okay.
I think. I don't know. I'm pretty sure. We'll have to look at it again.
Yeah. Well, regardless, it's soon, so we'll probably be talking about that on the next episode.
Oh, definitely.
And also, speaking of new albums, the Killswitch Enage just announced the release date of theirs, which is March 19th. I can't remember. It's mid-March. And they also announced their full tour dates for this spring. And they're touring with Memphis Mayfire and 36 Crazy Fists.
That's a lot of fists.
Yeah.
Right on.
And they are playing several places in our area. They're playing in Oklahoma City.
They're playing in Dallas.
KC.
Yeah.
I think Memphis. And, so it's just, if you're anywhere in the country, it looks like they're kind of covering all bases. So,
yeah, they're a great act to see live.
Yeah, they definitely, and I don't know if we talked about this. I think we did I don't think we did since the podcast started, but, this probably sounds blasphemous to most Killswitch fans, but I always kind of lean towards Howard Jones as I liked him better. Nothing against Jesse Leach. I just love Howard Jones, And, so when he left and they got Jesse back, I wasn't disappointed, but I was just like, I wasn't pumped about it.
Yeah.
And then that album came out, and I thought, well, this album's cool. I dig this a lot. And then we saw him at Oklahoma in 2014.
Yes.
And seeing Jesse Leach live just, like, totally put me over the top. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like, this dude, okay, now I get it,
Yeah, that was one of, if not the best set I saw at Oklahoma that year.
Yeah.
It was insane. And I've seen that band a few times, but always with Howard Jones. Right. So I was so glad, even if it was, a 40-minute set at Oklahoma, I was glad to get to see them. And, yeah, Jesse Leach is an insane frontman, and I think he was, after the whole thing with Howard Jones went down, he was really the only choice to be back in that band.
Yeah. And actually, I saw today, too, that he mentioned there's going to be a new Times of Grace album as well.
Really?
Which was the band with him and Adam D. And it, a lot of people loved it because, they had been missing Jesse in the band.
Yeah.
And so you figured once he's back in the band, that's what's really the point, Yeah. Not saying there's not a point to it, but it's just kind of, I never thought it would happen. So it's kind of cool to happen just because it gives us more music.
That's right. And you never go wrong with more music.
Right. Especially from people you like.
That's right.
All right. I think that covers most of what we had on the table this week, right?
Yeah, I think so. Just getting the year going. There's not a lot of, opportunities to get to snag interviews, with some of these bands coming through. So we've just kind of been doing these talking episodes, and it looks like people are liking them. I enjoy doing them. And so, hope you guys like and share and tell us what you guys think. If there's something you guys want us to talk about, or, if you want to bitch about something, let us know. But I think we've got it wrapped up for this week.
Yeah, you can always, like we usually mention, go back and check out older episodes. We've got interviews with everybody from members of Warrant to members of The Obsessed.
Yeah.
And Overkill.
Yep.
Sons of Texas.
Richie from Insight.
Yeah. Miss May I. We just kind of, we cover everything like we always talk about. We love hard rock. We love heavy metal and everything in between. And we recently had a best of 2015 episode where we go through our favorite albums of last year, which was an amazing year for music.
Yes, definitely.
And like you mentioned, we've, had a few episodes now without interviews, but we've actually got at least 2 or 3 in the works right now. So we'll be back on that. And we've also got likely an episode coming talking about a preview of Oklahoma.
Yes.
We'll have a special guest on that. And then we've also talked about doing an all Motley Crue episode since they came to a close here a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we'll also have a special guest on that one.
Exactly.
So be looking for those if you're fans of Oklahoma or Motley Crue, which you probably are if you're listening.
That's right. It's on its way.
Yep. And as always, go to thethunderunderground.com. You can find all our podcasts on there, find reviews, find all the lost classics there as well. You can also go to Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. All those are The Thunder Underground. If you're a band with music that you want us to play, shoot us an email at thethunderunderground@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter. And that's pretty much it.
I think that does it.
All right. Until next time, see you later.